Hi, I'm Patrick Kedger. I'm Vice President of Policy at the Taxpayers Protection Alliance. And today I'm just overjoyed to be joined by Renee Ventries, who is going to tell us about her small business, which is Cork and Keg Tours. Renee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Patrick. It was really nice to be asked to tell our story. I really appreciate that.
No, it's our pleasure. We think that it's really important for stories of small businesses like yours to get out there. And with that, could you tell me a little bit about your business, what you do, and what motivated you to get started?
Absolutely. So, Cork and Keg Tours is a company started by myself and my husband, Don, back in 2016. A couple of different factors came into play. One, he had gotten laid off from his job and was having trouble finding a great fit for another career. And at a certain point, when severance was about to run out, we're kind of starting to sweat what we're going to do to pay the mortgage. And he said, I'm tired of being one person's opinion away from not being able to, take care of my family and pay our bills. What if we started our own thing? And I am a serial entrepreneur, so I had no problem with that at all. And I was like, yeah, sure. What should we do? And so we were kind of noodling some different ideas. We thought about doing franchising and even did a franchise questionnaire. Found out very quickly that I am not a rule follower and would make a horrible franchisee. And so we thought, the wine and beer industry in Loudoun County, where we live, is really growing and exploding. What if we did something in that industry? And, we take vacations to Sonoma every year, and no one was doing tours the way that we were getting them done out there here in Virginia. So we thought, let's bring that style of, in through the back door and VIP service tours to this county. And so that's what we did. So we took the company that we were using out there and then added our own luxurious edge, came up with the name Cork and Keg Tours. And of course, once we bought the LLC and got the van, started on customizing, he got a job. um, it started off, our first tour was in April of April of 2017. And it became a weekend gig for both of us because we still worked full time. But as the industry continued to grow and our reputation for having this really high standard of the way that we handled our tours and the concept that we had that was just slightly different than anyone else's caught on. And in 2019, I went full time with Cork and Keg Tours to make it all go. So in a nutshell, we do winery and brewery tours, distilleries, meaderies, cideries, any place you can drink, we'll take you there safely. But we do it with a really customized and personalized edge, as well as concierge services. So basically taking all of our experience from hospitality, and I have a lot of hospitality and tourism in my background, taking all of that and adding it to something that could make really great money in our county in an industry that was just continuing to grow.
Oh, that is fantastic. And I have to tell you, as a resident of Virginia, I'm looking forward to being a customer soon. That is very, very exciting. It sounds like a great product, great service. But of course, with the year that we've just been through, I can imagine that all forms of the hospitality business are really hurting. Can you talk a little bit about how the pandemic affected your ability to sell your products and services, and how online platforms such as Facebook have helped you continue that business?
Yeah, I will say first and foremost, without Facebook, I would not have survived. My business would not still be in business today without Facebook, with all the support and tools that we use. So because of the shutdowns in March, wineries, breweries, no gathering, quarantine, we had to close our doors between March and the beginning of July when we finally started doing tours again. So during that time, I figured, well, I still have to figure out how to work. I still have to make sure that my business stays in front of people. We grew our business online, with Facebook, with Instagram, with the website that I built. So all of that was important. That was, we weren't out there pounding the pavement and going to events. We were socially, that's how people found us. So I decided, since I still had the van sitting there and I was quarantined and I had a fridge full of Virginia wine, I would just start doing virtual wine tastings. I would just go on to Facebook Live and I'd say, hey, if you can't drink with me, you can drink with me. So it started out actually in my basement. And I would sit here and I would have, this isn't wine, or is it? I would have my wine and I would have the bottle and I would tell people what I'm drinking. And then I talk about what it's like being in quarantine with my dog, my husband, my adult son. It just became a conversation. People would talk back, to me, and it just got more and more popular. And Then somebody mentioned something about karaoke because I love karaoke. I'm a horrible singer, but I absolutely love just to perform. I have no ego around it. The worse I sound, the better my performance, as far as I'm concerned. So my husband was getting kind of sick of hearing me wailing down here in the basement, singing all these songs. He's like, go in the van and do that. And I was like, oh, what a great idea. So I would turn on all the lights in the van. So it looks like I'm in a nightclub. And I found a way to actually put karaoke into the van, through the speakers in the van and everything. So it just became this big old party. My biggest one went pretty viral with almost 7,000 views last time I checked. So that was just crazy. So it became just this Cork and karaoke thing where I would do a tasting and then I would sing bad songs. Well, from there, we decided, we can help wineries by maybe doing some deliveries. So, we masked up, we gloved up, we made arrangements with several wineries to go and pick up their wine and then deliver it at the driveways for people in certain towns. So we started doing that for a bit, but then, things started to escalate with COVID. So we thought, okay, for our own safety, back in quarantine. So during that time, we also saw the platform of Facebook Lives as a way to raise money. So we saw the little donate button. I was like, what is this? So I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, I can pick these charities and I can raise money. So I started raising money for the tourism and hospitality community here in Loudoun County. And I would just call and get a 2-drink minimum, so what would you spend on 2 drinks at a bar? Go ahead and click donate that. And that's going to get to the restaurant workers, the business owners, the laid off bartenders and, hotel service folks and maids and all these people in hospitality who just weren't working. So I worked with Visit Loud and I talked to them about it and made donations there. Then it became, okay, some businesses are opening back up on a smaller scale. How do I help them? So then I started shouting them out during the presentation, during the whole thing. And I would have owners come on and do interviews using things like StreamYard to do, a side-by-side interview on a Facebook Live. I use my Facebook page to put the links and information about who's doing things to go, who's doing curbside service, what's going on in town, where should you go, what should you expect when you get there? So that continued growing. So I also use Facebook groups. The groups were crucial. A lot of really great groups came out of this where businesses weren't out there just promoting themselves, but they were also out there collaborating with other businesses and doing things to move each other forward. And that's continuing today. So being in some leadership group in Facebook has opened up a world of opportunities for me, but it's also shown me how special Loudoun County is in that the support that I get here as far as grants, as far as, just the networking, the brand awareness, the pieces that have been done on our company, it's incredible. And other counties should sit up and take notice as to what Loudoun County is doing to support their small businesses. It's been unbelievable. And then the last part, I'm sorry, this is really long, but
that's okay. It's a great story.
Yeah. Well, the last part that came out of this was doing all of these, all of my social media, all of my Facebook Lives involving other businesses. Businesses then came to me and said, hey, can you come and do a wine tasting for us? We have a small, socially distanced area. We'd love to try to get people back out in a safe way. We love your personality, what you're doing with wine, your knowledge about it. You want to come do a tasting? And I was like, sure, why not? So I would sit down with places like there's a restaurant called The Conch. There's a national chain called Eddie Merlot's, a steakhouse. Sat down, looked at the menu, tasted the food, tasted the wine, put together these great tastings. Then private people contacted me and said, hey, I want to do something like that, but with all my sorority sisters all over America. Can you make that happen? And I was like, yes, I can. So I contacted one of the wineries that does kits and said, hey, can you ship to these 10 states? And they said, yes, we can. And I said, okay, let's go. And so that actually created another brand called Go Be Great, which is my, it's an homage to my mentor who always told me to go be great. But what that is virtual and on-site wine tasting. So if we do get stricter, restrictions again, or get into another quarantine or a shutdown where we can't gather, but we can still commune, I will continue as a business being able to use a virtual platform. And that all started from Facebook Live.
That's really incredible. So what it sounds like is that you were able to use Facebook not only to save your business, but help other small businesses, not just in your area, but across the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really even, in Nebraska, where I'm from, Bellevue, Nebraska, they got wind of what I was doing and did some alumni pieces. And when I went into those Facebook groups, I would start talking to them about how I did it. I did a Loom presentation. It's another, platform so you can do things online. I did a Loom presentation teaching people how to set up an online charity contest. And it went into the leader group, and hundreds of people, were watching and learning how to, do charitable giving that was also great marketing for our company. So yeah, I mean, I've been able to help a lot of different people. And I decided from that, I would also do some mentoring at no cost, because I got so much out of everything that I learned. And when I realized that people, kind of connected with me and weren't afraid to ask me questions and felt comfortable coming to me for help, I was like, you know what? Part of Go Be Great is going to be this social marketing mentoring where you get 90 minutes with me. I look at your stuff on Facebook and Instagram. I tell you what worked for me and then give some suggestions. And the results that people have been getting has been pretty outstanding. So I'm very proud of that. And it's something that I'm just going to do to give back. Now I do it where people can donate what they think my advice is worth. And then I donate half of that to a veterans charity that I volunteer for.
Wow, that is just an incredible story. You know, a question I have for you though is to people that are out there listening and wanting to kind of follow in your footsteps. Are you some sort of computer whiz? I mean, how have you found these services in terms of ease of use? Is this, do you have a background in online marketing? What's going on here?
Oh my God, computer whiz. I can almost hear my husband laughing upstairs right now. No, but I am a Google queen, as people call me. People ask me all the time to find information for them. And I'm like, did you try the Google? And they're like, I can't Google things like you can. And I'm like, look, there's your information right there. So I think I'm intuitively a marketer and a salesperson. As much as I've tried to get out of sales my entire life, I've never been able to. Having a personal brand finally as Go Be Great is exactly where I've always been leading up to being. So no, but I'm very inquisitive, and I'm not afraid to just go out and get information, ask for help, follow instructions. And I talk to people who know things. And when I talk to them, I don't ask them to do it for me. I ask them to show me how. So when I built my website, I literally just went to WordPress or Wix. I picked Wix. And then I just went through trial and error and made several different types of sites until I landed on something that I really liked. And then I hired a professional to clean it up and make it less schizophrenic. But, you have to always be a student. You always have to be willing to learn, and you have to be unafraid of finding out what's out there. And then you also have to be okay with not doing all the things. I'm never going to TikTok. I say that now, but I'm not going to Snap. I'm not going to tweet, because those are just, they haven't really hit my audience the way that Facebook and Instagram have. And why would I spend any energy on anything other than what's really working and what's generating thousands of dollars in revenue for my company, and keeping my doors open? So I've decided to hyper focus on those and really make those better. And networking with people who know what they're doing, it's just all a part of, finding out what you need to know and finding out who you need to know that knows that thing. So not a whiz, just a student, and just unafraid to fail.
So, assuming that in the near future we're going to get out of this situation, God willing, how do you think that your experience in utilizing these online platforms during this crisis is going to affect your business going forward? Do you have any plans for new types of ventures or expansions? I mean, how do you plan to utilize these tools going forward?
Yeah, I mean, expansion is it's a foregone conclusion. Expansion is choosing my company over me choosing it, because we turn away almost as many tours as we can do, because we only do one tour per day. We dedicate a full 6-hour day to one client, one private party. And so when April 6th is booked, it's booked. And if they can't book another day, then that client goes away. But if we have more vans and more, assets, then we can do more. So we're looking at our growth strategy. As a matter of fact, February 2020 was when we decided to look at how to grow, and then COVID. So, so we're back at it now, looking at what we're going to do as far as moving forward. My goal with social media is figuring out how to make Cork and Keg Tours a household name in the tour industry. How to monetize all of the media and attention and opportunities that have come to me through Facebook and Instagram. How do I get those out there to the right audience? How do I get my brand awareness across America? And it's so crazy because that's something that you couldn't do without the internet. You couldn't do that without social platforms where I can set an audience in California or Oregon versus right here locally, and boom, I'm in front of those people. So learning how to use those advertising tools is really important for me. I've been able to luckily grow very organically here. Spend very little money on Facebook and Instagram advertising. Not none, but I spend very little because I've spent more time trying to do that organic growth. So I'm hoping that those tentacles, when I start using it as a paid opportunity, go out to all those other wine countries and beer, ale trails that are growing all over America. Get that as a household name and then grow nationally. I'm definitely going to funnel more money into Virginia from Maryland and Pennsylvania and West Virginia, but I'm also planning on Cork and Keg Tours being France.
Why not?
Why not?
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. It's nice to hear an optimistic outlook for the future. It really is these days. I would just ask, kind of wrapping up a little bit, what advice would you have for others, potential entrepreneurs or existing small businesses? I mean, besides to sign up for one of your classes, what advice would you give them right now in terms of trying to utilize these platforms in order to continue to sustain themselves and eventually thrive during this crisis and beyond?
Yeah, the best advice that I can give is to look for opportunities to thrive no matter what. When we couldn't do any tours between March and May 29th was when they finally opened up wineries and brewers again on a small scale. And we decided to give it a month to see how that would play out before we put our clients in the mix. But during that time, we didn't just sit back and wait for grants and say, oh, well, we can't do any tours. No, we had to find an alternative. I found my alternative through virtual. I know some other companies that had mobile vehicles that were only doing their services a certain way that found a way to make their mobile services even more personalized and improve their business to where now they're at a higher level of business than they were before the crisis, before the quarantine and COVID. So you have to be creative, and you can't wallow in a negative experience, because I don't want to just say a silver lining, but there's a way to make your business better and to do more with that. Figure out ways to help other people as well, because the more that you get out there and network and assist other businesses and nonprofits, you're going to learn something, and you're going to find a nugget of information that's like, oh my gosh, that's something I can use for myself. So don't disappear. You really got to get out there and overcome those challenges. It's not to say that it's easy to overcome them, and it's not to say that they can all be overcome. Sometimes something's going to have to go away and it's going to have to change, and you just have to be willing to accept, when it's time to make a change, get rid of a product, whatever it is. But it's really, really important to look at challenges as opportunities and not sit around waiting on grants or handouts, and be smart with your advertising dollars. Don't let them go away. I'm saying too many things. That's a lot of advice. Use your marketing dollars wisely. Challenges or opportunities, and make sure that you are out there helping others, because you're going to learn something from them that can help you to increase your business. That's how we stayed in business all this time. That's why we're a better company now than we were in early 2020, and why a totally new brand exists that is, getting really, really great traction. So that's what I would say.
All right. One final, I guess, policy question for you
Mm-hmm.
would be, politicians on both sides of the aisle right now are considering any number of changes and new types of regulations when it comes to how the internet functions and how the big companies on the internet function. There's, different proposals that contradict each other. Again, it's a bipartisan scrutiny is really beginning to increase. I just want to
Mhm.
give you this opportunity to speak directly to some of the folks in Washington, D.C. on both sides of the aisle that are considering changes, whatever they may be. What would you want them to know as they go forward and looking at how the internet ecosystem is going to operate in the future?
Wow, good question. I What I really want them to know is that 1,000 small businesses have more power than one big business. When you look at all the people out there who are true entrepreneurs, who are truly, buying brick and mortars or finding ways to, to work out of their homes to make businesses, building things, making things, providing services to people, our voices collectively mean a lot. And when we see a lot of these big businesses getting this type of benefits that we need, and we're being denied those benefits, it's a really hard pill to swallow, because it's like, okay, I don't have any of these, I don't have, I don't know, tax shelters, or I don't have all of these different, loopholes that fit for me because I don't have this many employees, or I am not in this particular tax bracket. A lot of us fall into this middle ground, in this place where we make too much money to qualify for things on this level, and we don't make enough money to qualify for things on this level. And I know I'm being very broad in what I'm saying there, but it is a broad brush. I mean, there are so many small business people who are doing everything they can to keep their lights on. Meanwhile, there's a franchise that makes $1 billion a year, that's getting you know grants and funds. Not that their employees don't matter too, but that's not the same pot. Make a pot that is specific for us. Make it so that we can get past all of this. We didn't apply for any of the loans, because we're like, why would we try to get a loan to pay back money on income and revenue that we didn't make? Now we've got money to pay our bills, but we've got to pay all of that back out of money that we're not making. I don't even understand how I can pay a loan back. So we chose not to pay for, not to apply for any of the loans. We operated our business with 3 months in the bank, as much as we could do that. Excuse me. We operated with 3 months of business in the bank, so that if something bad did happen, maybe it's bad weather, maybe something hits the wine industry, we were always prepared. But that went away very quickly. That depleted quickly. And then it's like, okay, how do we keep these doors open? And there should be more opportunities for small businesses to have forgiveness. Whether that forgiveness goes up into the ranks of, the landlords are being given forgiveness for whoever they pay their bills to, so that they don't have to charge the people who can't use their buildings right now, or are using them at 25% or less capacity because of the regulations. It's different pots. We are not all the same type of business. I'm not a McDonald's, I'm not a Nike, I'm a little Cork and Keg Tours, with no employees, but bills to pay, and a business that I want to grow and be up there with those household names. So I guess in summation, I would just say we're a different pot, and we deserve more attention and the respect of being a backbone of trying to get what that American dream is, which is making, our businesses succeed, making them thrive. And both sides should see a benefit in that. There's I don't think that it's a Democrat or Republican concept or principle to be successful in America. And what we do from there, sure, that goes off in different directions, but both sides should support small business chasing the American dream, and give us the opportunity to take 2 steps forward without getting set 1 step back, without different government regulations dipping into our pockets just for the sake of us bearing the brunt of, all of the tax burdens. Not all, but you know what I mean. It's very frustrating when we get a little something, and then it's like, oh, you got that much more? Well, now you have to pay this much more. Okay, well, I'm willing to pay my fair share, but come on, don't make it so that I'm always treading water. And a lot of us small businesses always feel like the more we get ahead, the more we get set back, and we have to try this hard to get this high. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's the biggest thing, and it goes across the board. I know there's a lot of diversity and inclusion that is being talked about in businesses, but small business owners, we all are the same color at one point, and that's green. And we all need to make that money, and we all need opportunities. So yeah, yeah, recognize the value of the small business. Thousand voices, lots of us out there.
I think that's a fantastic message. Well, with that, I just want to thank you for your time and give you the opportunity. Please give us your website where we can find you online, so that more people can take tours, take classes, and hopefully follow in your incredible footsteps.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope it's incredible. This time next year, I'd love to see where I am. I'm going to have to take notes. But yeah, so my website is Cork and Keg Tours, like Cork and Keg. Oh, look, I have some branding material right there.
Perfect.
So corkandkegtours.com is my website. That's also my handle on Instagram and on Facebook. And Go Be Grape, as in grape, like in the fruits, right there, Go Be Grape. That is the wine tasting brand for virtual and in-person wine tastings. And yeah, and just support more local businesses. These were made by a local business. This was made by a local business. I just want everybody to get out there and make sure that they realize that others are like them, trying to make it happen. So, I was a Navy veteran, and a high tide raises all ships is my life motto. And so get out there and raise each other up.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for, first of all, your service and what you continue to do for your community and the country. Really, we really appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you, Patrick. It was a lot of fun. You have a great day, and I appreciate your time.
Of course.